Ohio State, Oregon, Week 2 preview coming to you. Let's talk ball.
So Oregon, Ohio State, Week 2 matchup, likely to be the game day. And so we're going to break it down a little bit by position group, a little bit by what we think maybe the game will kind of go like. And I'll start with the quarterback position. Obviously, at Ohio State, they're having to replace Justin Fields, and that's big shoes to fill. Back-to-back years, he took them to the playoffs. Last year to the national championship. He was an elite guy,
Yeah.
one of the top picks this year, going to the Chicago Bears. And they got a highly touted guy in C.J. Stroud. I assume, David, you probably know more about him because I know it was a bit of a battle with Georgia and Ohio State there at the end.
It really came out to the end there, and a lot of that was determined by Jake Fromm.
All right.
And whether or not he went to the draft. But, yeah, it was definitely a battle there. We missed
And
out.
then with Oregon, from everything I'm hearing, the transfer from Boston College, Anthony Brown, will likely be their quarterback. They got a talented guy, and Ty Thompson, I believe he's battling them pretty strong. But with Anthony Brown, I was looking at some of his stats from Boston College because I can remember him a little bit from playing him when Clemson playing Boston College. And he's a talented guy. He flashes. But if you look at his stats, he put up very mediocre stats.
Yeah.
But he started as a freshman. Then he kind of progressed as a sophomore at Boston College. And he battled the injury bug. He had a bad knee injury at Boston College, transfers to Oregon. And, I mean, in all reality, he's the reason that Tyler Sal, Oregon's quarterback last year, is having to transfer out. Because, I mean, he pretty much beat him out by the end of the year. So solely based off experience, obviously C.J. Stroud, he has no experience outside of garbage time. And Anthony Brown, his stats, the experience he has is mediocre, but he did progress from freshman to sophomore year and then going into this year, which will be a senior year with Oregon. So I give Oregon the nod at the quarterback position for Anthony Brown.
Well, as far as that goes, when it comes to C.J. Stroud, he's an extremely talented guy. There was a clip of him, and it was just a little highlight, and it was just like a Patrick Mahomes type play. Yeah. And he's definitely talented, and you kind of have to assume that him being able to sit a year under Fields has to have helped his development process and his learning of the playbook. There with that offense, it is definitely a bit of a complicated offense that he's got to run. But they did a really good job with Fields as similar to kind of how Auburn and Carolina Panthers used Cam Newton. They minimized the playbook and made it simpler. So I think they're going to do a really good job with C.J. Stroud. And as far as Oregon goes, both of these teams have a question mark at quarterback.
Right.
And whichever one works out the quarterback situation first in this game is going to suit them better. As far as this game goes, I like C.J. Stroud.
Okay. I agree. I agree with you. I like C.J. Stroud in this. A little background to this game. I don't know if we even said it. It is at Ohio State, which I think plays a major role into this game.
Oh, big time.
Home field advantage. ESPN's given Ohio State an 84% chance to win. That's big. 12 o'clock game at Ohio State. Both teams coming off a loss from last year. Oregon going 4-3 with a loss to Iowa State in the Fiesta Bowl. Ohio State coming off that national championship loss to Bama, that big loss to Bama. But yeah, like you said, both teams are the questions at quarterback position, especially Ohio State with having to replace Justin Fields. Big loss, big shoes to fill. But I agree. I give the edge to Ohio State on that, even though they're replacing Fields.
Okay, well, let me ask you this: we've all three talked at length about experience, and how big that is.
Right.
Anthony Brown, 2 years at Boston College. Now, I believe both those years were cut somewhat short. I think both due to knee injuries. And last year with Tyler Sal being their starting quarterback, he started out hot for Oregon. End of the year, he kind of struggled. That's when they inserted Anthony Brown in the lineup, and Oregon kind of took off, and they had a better end of the year. They had a bad game against, I think it was Iowa State in the bowl game. They had a bad game there. But we've seen Anthony Brown for pretty much 3 years. We've seen him play good football. We haven't seen anything out of C.J. Stroud yet. Both of y'all giving him the nod. Is that solely just on potential?
To me, it is. Yeah, I mean, coming the number 2 pro style quarterback coming out of college, 6'3", 218, big guy. I definitely think that, like I said, experience wise, it definitely goes to Anthony Brown. But talent wise, I think in this case, overmatches that.
So one thing that I thought was interesting, who does Oregon open with?
Fresno State.
Yeah, easy.
So Oregon opens with a walkover. If you execute however you decide to, then if you execute the way you're supposed to, you'll blow them out. Ohio State opens with Minnesota.
All right.
Now Minnesota had an off year last year. The year before that, they're very good.
They got a great coach in P.J. Flood.
Right, a very good coach. And what you wondered with Minnesota last year, was it a COVID year scenario where you didn't really have a good offseason or much of an offseason at all, hardly a fall camp, and just throwing in a season, or did you drop off?
All right.
Week 1 could give Ohio State fits. And in my opinion, I think C.J. Stroud's going to be forced to grow up week 1.
That's true.
Yeah, for sure.
That's valid. That's
for
very
sure.
valid.
We may have a totally different outset look on this game after we see Ohio State play Minnesota. I seen ESPN projected Minnesota to finish 8-4 this year. Great season. Definitely think there's potential there for them to make a run.
With that being said, another reason I gave Stroud the nod here is Ohio State knows their guy.
All right.
Yeah.
Ohio State has gone into spring.
That's true.
Knowing C.J. Stroud's their guy.
Right, and that's big.
And I don't care what anybody says. Bottom line is Quinn Ewers, or how you pronounce his last name, he's not in the mix.
No, he's not coming in. No.
You don't come in with 30 days to learn a playbook,
right?
A complicated offense, and you just don't.
I think we need to mention that name more so I can put it in the thumbnail because he's getting a bunch of views right now.
Quinn Ewers. Just throw him in the title.
In all seriousness, how does that work with him skipping out on his senior year of high school?
Credits. A lot of players enroll right in the fall and come in.
So he's done with high school?
Yeah, completely.
Okay.
He's a college athlete now.
So he has his high school diploma.
That's why Cade Klubnik went up to 1 because he's no longer a high school recruit.
Okay, so he has. So it's not like he just dropped out of high school.
Right.
JT Daniels. Whatever the term is.
Right, so it's not like they just drop out of high school and don't get their high school diploma.
Right, no.
Okay,
they have all the credits they need.
I thought he just dropped out, went straight to Ohio State.
Well, they're like, he's skipping his senior year, so I'm like...
Well, you see a lot of early enrollees, but they don't enroll normally in the fall like he did.
Right.
Normally they'll enroll in the spring.
Right.
And once you've had a spring and a fall, you're ahead.
Right.
But he's come in the fall, and now he's behind. And with this isn't a topic, maybe we could talk about him, especially since it's a hot topic. I think... in the long run, he gets buried in transfers, but that's not the topic. We may could talk about that in the future. But
all right, let's move to the running back position. Go ahead.
Want me to kick it off?
Yeah, go ahead.
I give fairly heavy here to Ohio State personally. I believe Oregon has some good running backs, but you got C.J. Verdell, Travis Dye, and Sean Dollars at Oregon, and those are all, I believe, 3 solid guys. They're not crazy elite. They're not going to totally blow your socks off. They're talented guys. They got some potential. But when you look at Ohio State, you got Master Teague, a proven guy. And if you play with him on NCAA 14 updated rosters, he's impossible to tackle.
If you update your rosters on
you
NCAA,
got Master Teague.
Run the ball, or just use Ohio State.
Just use Ohio State. Yeah. They're an absolute cheat code, including Master Teague, and definitely losing Trey Sermon last year. That's a big loss.
Yeah, it is.
But you also got Trayvon Henderson. I believe he's the #1 running back. I could be wrong with that. He was a 5-star.
I'm not 100% on that.
I'm not sure, but I know he's a 5-star, super talented guy. And you got Mayan Williamson. And I know when we played him last year in the bowl game, that being Clemson, when they put Mayan Williamson in to run the ball against us, he was electric.
Yeah.
I mean, he was able to do some things against our defensive line. He was able to do things against our defense. And from what I'm hearing, Master Teague, likely he'll probably roll out there #1, but towards the end of the season, he probably won't even be the #1 guy. And
possibly,
Master Teague's not necessarily the best running back in the country by no stretch of the imagination. But when you got a talented guy, Master Teague, an experienced guy, and he likely won't even be your #1 guy game week 5 or week 6, I believe that's a deep running back room, so I give the nod to Ohio State.
Yeah.
I give the nod to Ohio State here, and I mentioned earlier, the deal is, one thing I don't like is similar to quarterback, and opposite, Oregon seems settled on their guy.
That's true.
While Ohio State is not. And I don't think it's as big a gap as you get. But one thing I put in the thought is Ohio State, while Trey Sermon was a breakout player, Ohio State still implemented their backs.
Right.
These backs are coming in, and maybe they've not had as big a role as they're going to have. They've played plenty of meaningful snaps and against good defenses, against Clemson's defense.
Right.
And these guys aren't scrubs that are coming out of nowhere. Now, when it comes, would I be surprised to see Oregon run for more yards? No.
No, I wouldn't.
But based off the running back room, I like Ohio State. But the deal is, I don't know that it's always a good thing to run by committee.
And I can agree with that.
Now, Georgia runs by committee, but they do it with 3 5-star
guys.
guys.
What do you mean by that?
When you run, so the term running by committee, pretty much you got one guy getting 8 carries, another guy getting 8. Now,
splitting carries pretty much.
Georgia does that, but that's their plan.
Right.
There's one thing to do it when you've got a bunch of talented guys, and another thing to do it when you've got some solid guys that aren't setting themselves apart, and you're just kind of.
If you've got, such as Georgia, if you've got 3 5-stars in your backfield,
you kind of have to.
You kind of have to run.
And I think there's
use it as your advantage.
Right.
And it may be the case there where there's just 3 really good guys or 2 really good guys.
And I think there's pros and cons to that. Me being a Clemson fan, I haven't really seen us do a running back from community for a while. I mean, we went Andre Ellington.
Yeah.
That was our guy. Wayne Goldman. That was our guy. Obviously, Travis Etienne. I haven't seen that in a while. But like you said, I agree. There's negatives to it, but there's also positives because obviously you're keeping fresh running backs.
I think you could, not getting off topic, but I think you could see it a little bit more with Clemson this year.
Oh,
no, that's probably
with Will Shipley being in there,
especially early on. But and you're seeing that more in the NFL now than ever.
Right.
You are.
A lot of teams are loading up 2 guys.
They're at least 2. Yeah, they're 1 2 guys.
And Georgia's been that way for a while. And one thing that does is it keeps your guys healthy. And fresh throughout the game.
Yep, for sure.
And it makes the defense have to prepare.
And I mean, you can
guys.
get different styles of running backs.
Right.
You can get more of a twitchy guy, a power guy.
Scenario. Lindsay's going to be more of your
kind of twitchy
3-4 yard guy.
And I agree. Like I said, we all agree with this. That I do give the edge to Ohio State.
Right.
Master Teague being my
but like I said, I don't think the gap is massive.
No, I don't either. But one fact that I did find that Oregon is the 2nd team in the nation in returning talent this year.
So, they got a lot of people coming
only
back.
behind LSU.
Yeah.
Which LSU literally lost their whole team last year and then returned just everybody this year. But I think that's big. Returning the number 2 team in the nation in returning talent, that's pretty big.
I agree.
But I do give the edge to Ohio State in the running back category.
So offensive line.
Offensive line, I give the edge, and Oregon's known, especially for the past couple of years. I think it was 2019. They no doubt had the best O line. And last year, I can't think of the guy's name. Sewell, P9.
You doing offensive line or defensive line?
Offensive line.
Offensive line. Yeah, Oregon. I seen today that Oregon returned.
Man was about to start talking about Kayvon Thibodeau.
Yeah, the Oregon returned all 5 of their starters on offensive line.
Well, technically, but Sewell, he got drafted.
Yeah.
But the only thing about
I guess in that bowl game they probably did.
Yeah. The only thing about that is that with Oregon returning all their guys, this O-line, in my opinion, isn't quite as talented years past. They still got a great O-line. And you got to think with Ohio State, they lost 2 of their guys in the first 3 rounds last year. Yeah. Their O-linemen, I think they had one in the first round and one like in the 2nd or 3rd round. But they also got, what's his name? I have it written down. I think it's Paris Johnson, that's right. Paris Johnson Jr., who was like one of the highest talented offensive linemen like ever.
Dude, he played Georgia like a fiddle.
Did he?
Yes.
Yeah, coming out of high school. I mean, an elite guy. And then he's super talented, and they're still moving him like a different position so they can squeeze in other guys that are dominating.
Yeah.
So that's why I give the edge for this season to Ohio State, because when you're moving a guy,
especially this game.
Right. Yeah. This game, because when you're moving a guy like Paris Johnson around that's that talented, you know you got some dogs around him.
Right.
Man, this one was tough for me, and it's just a tough decision because you've got 2 teams that are, I mean, both are known. For that, and any elite team or any team that's gonna nationally contend, you pretty much have to be known for your lines of scrimmage because you're not winning big time ball games without dominating the line of scrimmage.
Right.
And it's a tough one, and there's not a big gap either way.
I agree.
It's pretty much neck and neck.
I agree 100% with you.
I give it to Ohio State because of the simple fact Paris Johnson is a straight stud.
Yeah.
And when you have a guy that is pretty much a guaranteed first rounder, and you are moving him to get other guys in, you're saying, well, this guy's really good, but he can play anywhere.
Right.
And you're pushing around. You don't take a great wide receiver and sit him on the bench.
Right.
So now when it comes to Oregon, they return a lot.
They do. They got a lot of experience coming back.
A ton of chemistry between the O-line, and chemistry in the O-line is very important.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Like I said, I give the nod to Ohio State, but as slight as possible.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
You give it to Ohio State as well?
Yep.
So moving on.
Johnson's a dude.
So moving on to wide receivers, and I agree. Paris Johnson's an absolute stud.
Man, I really hate for Oregon fans. Please don't hate us. Wait for the defensive side, but
it'll start changing.
Yeah,
but
because we know where the wide receiver course
goes. Yeah, that's not even a question.
Yeah,
throw that one out.
We can all say it at the same time. Ohio State.
Absolutely.
And the reason that being Garrett Wilson coming back, Chris Olave coming back, and let's not forget Julian Fleming.
Yeah,
the number 1 wide receiver coming out
came to Clemson.
Yeah, that almost.
I believe they have a transfer in as well.
Yeah. I mean that's ridiculous.
They have that other high recruit. He's got a weird name. It's like Ibuka, something weird.
Put it this way: Ohio State has probably got the best wide receiver.
No doubt about
it. They definitely got the best duo.
They
no,
have the
no
best
doubt.
and I would say they have the best room right now. Now, let's see what Georgia looks like. Let's see what Clemson looks like. And let's see what Bama looks like. And let's see what Oklahoma looks like. But if I had to throw my money in a hat right now, I'm taking Ohio State.
Hey, since Ryan Day has taken over, and really even a little bit before that, but they've been recruiting as well as anybody at the wide receiver position specifically. They've been getting some guys at wide receiver.
But I'll say this as well. Like I said, I'm giving Ohio State the nod. And it doesn't matter. Put them up against anybody in the nation week one. I'm taking Ohio State.
And but that doesn't mean that's going to bid very, very well for C.J. Stroud being a redshirt.
That is another reason.
Oh yeah, that's a big deal. Absolutely.
That's one reason.
With having an experienced wide receiver core, you throw the ball up and them guys can go get anybody. Right. If you put it in the vicinity, they're going to be able to catch it.
For a guy that may not be ready to lead his team
exactly.
Chris Olave or Garrett Wilson can come in and those guys are going to be in the right set versus another young quarterback.
All right. Like I said, I don't want to get off on that, but which is why I think it's such as Clemson's. I mean, same situation as Clemson wide receiver core. Right. You've got experienced guys helping out a young quarterback.
Yes, but question. We're not talking about Clemson here. Yeah. I know Ngata and Frank Ladson have played, but do they have enough experience to the point that they could lead? If they
and that's up for discussion.
And there's truth to that. Let's not get too off top, but they're both juniors. Obviously, you got Justin Ross coming back, but
we'll reel this back in. I really want to revisit that if we could before season gets here.
Yeah. Let's move to the defensive side of the ball.
So defensive line, this one was really, really tough for me. Because
this is the thing that's so interesting about this game. This game's being overlooked. This game's gonna be good.
It's an evenly matched.
Especially
there's a lot of good matchups.
Watching the line of scrimmage.
The only big gap is wide receiver.
Watching the line of scrimmage is gonna be fun because you got two great O lines and two great D lines.
This game is gonna be one that you go back and watch film.
Oh yeah.
And I know I said at the beginning of the game that this is so far it's a 12 o'clock scheduled game at Ohio State. I can see this game getting moved
12?
to.
Wow.
12 o'clock.
I know, man. Them Big Ten matchups.
They do a lot of Big Ten matchups at 12 o'clock.
Is there any other real big games we do?
This is a 12 o'clock game.
I'm not sure. I can look it up.
I think like Penn State and Wisconsin.
Just throw this in there while he's looking that up.
Yeah.
Ohio State plays Minnesota on a Thursday.
Yeah.
Oh, do they?
And they go.
But it is week one.
And they go to Minnesota.
Yeah, that's definitely a little trappy. But it'd be more of a trap game maybe week 5.
Does Ohio State start 0-2?
History consistently tells you that elite teams lose road games on weekdays.
Well, and I agree, but I feel like it's a little bit different week 4, week 5 because they still had this whole offseason.
No, I agree. And Ohio State's going to win the game.
Yeah, it's still a little trappy.
But
I see what you're saying.
Don't show up.
But
sleeping.
But going back to D-line, this one was really tough because when you have a guy in Kayvon Thibodeau that is being compared to Chase Young, being compared to all-time great defensive linemen.
The best, maybe even the best player in college football.
Right. And really at Ohio State, we've seen what they've done with the deal, especially the defensive end position with Nick Bosa, Joey Bosa, Chase Young the past couple of years. And they don't seem, at least yet, they'll probably have a breakout guy this year to really have that big talent, a top 5 pick guy this year, at least on the edge. I know they got Jack Sawyer coming in. He should be I think he'll be.
That is a stud.
Yeah, I think he'll be like a second string guy. Obviously, he's a freshman this year, but he's a stud. And they got some other guys. I mean, you got Haskell Garrett and you got Tavon Vincent at Ohio State. That's the interior guys. That's the defensive tackles. They'll have one of the best interior defensive lines. I just don't know if they quite have that same edge talent this year. And when you got Kayvon Thibodeau, to me, that's a game changer, and it's really close.
It's hard.
Part of me wants to give the edge to Oregon just because of Kayvon Thibodeau, but at the same time, I feel like it's a little bit more complete at Ohio State, so I give a very, very slight nod to Ohio State.
I see eye to eye with you, but I'm actually going to go the opposite here.
And I could totally see
I'm going to take Oregon simply because of the game record.
Okay.
But
and I can agree with that,
but
absolutely.
One thing that strikes me, Ohio State's D-line, juniors and seniors.
Right.
5-star freshmen.
That's true.
It's such a hard decision. But when you have a guy like Kayvon, I'm not even going to try the last name.
I think.
When you have a guy like that, it's a game record.
Yeah. I mean, he's a guy that could get 2-3 sacks.
Tell me who lines up beside Aaron Donald. No clue.
Yeah.
Don't matter.
Right.
Yeah,
for sure.
And you're
going to have 2 guys on
game record, D-lineman, exactly.
Right.
Yep.
They draw double teams, open up other gaps.
For everybody else.
I'm taking Oregon here just because of
and that's fair.
One
I can see that.
Super. Now, here's the thing. We may watch that game and be like, dude, it's Ohio State D-line, but I'm taking Oregon there. And it's slight, but it's just because of the game record.
Getting back to that, that's no doubt the game of the week. You got Oregon, Ohio State.
I'd like to see that game get moved to
none of the Georgia plays UAB. Penn State plays Ball State.
I think Georgia
Alabama
UAB should get game day.
There's really
Alabama
nobody
plays
that
Mercer.
gets UAB.
Clemson plays South Carolina State.
It's one of those weeks that
All right.
Texas and Arkansas.
go to the deer stand.
That's a 7 p.m. game, and then
who plays Arkansas?
Texas.
That'll be a fun game to watch.
Arkansas's got a ball club.
Yeah, that'll be
and
fun to
then
watch.
only one I can see maybe being that 8 o'clock game that night is Washington, Michigan.
So they're going to be game day.
So that Washington, Michigan could be the game. Is that going to you don't think so?
This game right here will be game day, and it's not going to be close. People don't understand, and this game has background.
Yeah.
Was it 2015?
2014.
Was the national championship?
2014. Yep.
And so you get.
It might have been in 2015,
right,
but it was
because it kind of like the 2014 season, but 2015
national championship.
They've got history.
Yeah.
These teams hate each other, and I'll tell you this: this game means
big
more to Oregon
for sure.
Does Ohio State, because if Ohio State loses, Oregon has upset the world.
Yeah. Especially if Ohio State comes out and loses week 1. If they come out and lose week 1, that's their season.
Oh yeah, they got to win out.
Yeah, they have to win out.
If Ohio State wins, business as usual.
Yeah.
Oregon wins,
it's an upset.
It's the headline.
Yeah, for sure.
And I agree with that. And so moving on to linebacker, and I honestly think there's as big as a gap at the wide receiver position as there really is on linebacker position for Oregon in favor.
For sure.
I believe they arguably got the best linebacker core in college football.
Them or Alabama or maybe Georgia.
With Justin Flo and Noah Sewell.
Especially, like you said,
Clemson's up there too.
Solely off potential, solely off of talent. When you got Justin Flo, you got Noah Sewell, and you got Adrian Jackson, I mean, that's elite.
Yep.
I mean, that's and especially with Ohio State, they got a bunch of upperclassmen. I think they got a bunch of juniors and seniors this year for their linebacker core, but they lack experience there. Though they're upperclassmen, it's kind of like Joseph Ngata and Frank Ladson. They're juniors, but they haven't seen the field much, whether that's because they're sitting behind people or injury. And that's kind of the case for Ohio State, their linebacker core this year. Yes, they got upperclassmen there, but they haven't seen the field much.
Right.
So you got an inexperienced bunch with Ohio State, and you got a somewhat experienced bunch, super talented with Oregon. So I give a pretty heavy number.
I agree with you.
I'm the same way.
I'm leaning Oregon on that one.
Big time leaning to Oregon. Justin Flo is the best linebacker in college football.
I'll tell you what, I so wish we would have got Justin Flo.
Yeah, I do too.
It was so close.
That's.
But in reality, again, not to get too much off topic,
he wasn't a good fit though for Clemson. He's a better fit
for Oregon.
For Oregon,
I'll tell you this: he visited Georgia, basically told our staff he was coming, and then
he just didn't fit well though.
He wasn't a good fit.
I'll tell you what, he kind of led us on, dude.
I thought he was. I thought he was a Clemson.
Dabo deserved that because he thinks he dates these recruits. No, I'm just.
If Dabo would have, hold on, let's just clear this up. If Dabo would have never told him, "I don't want you going anywhere else and visiting," he'd have been.
He does that with every recruit.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. But if he didn't, I guarantee.
All right, let's roll it in.
I think he was leaning toward Clemson.
So the DB group as a whole, corners as a whole, I'm taking Oregon as a nod to corner. I know they've got that one cat that's regarded as one of the better ones in the nation and probably the best in the Pac-12.
I think that's McKinley?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think so.
And with the talent they have at the other spot, you assume it'll work itself out. But what interests me is a lot of people say, all right, you've got corner 1, corner 2. In modern-day college football, you've got corner 1, corner 2, corner 3 star.
Yeah. No, you're right.
And so the reason teams get eat up by these tight ends is you don't got enough corners for everybody.
The tight end, I'm convinced that the tight end position on offense is one of the most vital.
I believe that.
You're definitely starting to see it come back.
Yeah.
You would kind of think it wouldn't because of the way football's moving, but it's not like the typical tight end.
Especially 300-pound tight end.
Right. I was gonna say, especially a tight end.
It's a more athletic tight end
that can line up at wide receiver at any given day.
I.e. Kyle Pitts.
Exactly.
So as far as the DB group, I'm giving the nod to Oregon.
I give Oregon the nod, but I mean, if you literally look last year, Ohio State I think was ranked 122nd in secondary. Like their secondary was absolutely even with Sean Wade was absolutely terrible, and they really
Sean Wade wasn't all that.
He was the year prior before they moved him in positions.
Sean Wade, and he's a good player.
Yeah.
But I feel like
he's good at covering the slot, but when you line him up man to man, he's not a good. He's not a good.
Much different position.
We got blown out by Ohio State, but Cornell Powell absolutely tore
and I'll tell you this too,
Sean Wade up in that game.
Ohio State, and I'll just say this as a whole.
Well, Sean Wade's gone now, but
to my understanding, Ohio State is implementing a new defense.
That's kind of what I've heard too. Especially
they're kind of throwing in like a third safety who can either drop out or come in the box, and it's going to be interesting to see Ohio State find their identity on defense.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is Oregon last year also was ranked pretty bad in secondary as well. But like you mentioned, they got I believe it's Verone McKinley, who's like the real good guy. He was like the best one on their team. But also, what was big for Ohio State last year is they didn't have Cameron Brown.
Right.
I think he went down with an Achilles injury. They get him back this year. But
if he can stay healthy, that's gonna be big.
Yeah, no, he's big. Just like McKinley's big for Oregon, Cameron Brown's big for Ohio State. But I agree. I give the nod to secondary.
And not a whole lot of experience there to go around.
Right. Exactly.
And as far as safeties go, you could argue Ohio State, but I'll take Oregon there as well.
I do too.
Those Ohio State safeties were getting torched.
They were.
So go ahead.
And like I said, you're implementing that another safety. And it's going to be interesting to see them do that. And I'm interested to watch this game. This is going to be a good game.
And now, granted, everybody or Alabama shredded everybody, but Devontae Smith had like 10,000 yards in the first half.
Yeah.
Like that was.
If he
was crazy.
If he wouldn't have injured his hand, he could have.
Yeah.
Well, put it this way:
crazy.
Devontae Smith was doing things to first-round DBs.
Right. That shouldn't be done.
That you shouldn't be doing to FCS teams.
Yeah. Watch out for him in the NFL.
Whoever's.
Oh yeah.
Dude, that wide receiver.
Got him on my fantasy team. Went out on a limb and got him.
It don't matter who you.
So basically, going back, if you look at everything, we give a pretty heavy lean on offense to Ohio State and a pretty heavy lean to defense on Oregon.
So basically, you
and
have,
what we always heard, defense wins championships.
But
defense doesn't win championships anymore.
Nope. And we've heard defense wins championships, but offense wins games. But to me, the most intriguing part of this game is O-line and D-line, not much separation. We barely gave the nod to Ohio State. We barely gave the nod to Oregon.
In a lot of regards, this game is
and that's where games are won.
This game is somewhat similar to the Georgia-Clemson game and the lines of scrimmage.
Right.
But, really and truly, any big-time matchup, whoever wins that line of scrimmage between those 10 guys, those 9 guys, that's who wins your game.
I don't think, in closing, I don't think this should be I think when they do the spread, I don't think it should be any more than 10.
No, it shouldn't be any more than really 7.5 in my opinion.
But I can see him giving Ohio State 10.
Depending on week 1.
That is true. Week 1's going to be a lot, and this kind of goes.
Because if C.J. Stroud was to struggle bad,
and this kind of goes against what I'm saying, against what I said. But similarly to Bryce Young, I believe though I picked Anthony Brown, I gave him the nod. There's a chance C.J. Stroud could come out, and he probably will.
I'm kind of banking on it.
Baller.
I'm banking on that, but. There's a chance that Anthony Brown comes out and plays really good.
Yeah, absolutely.
And C.J. Stroud really struggles.
Right. Absolutely.
And Oregon's going to be his first big test.
Right.
So,
it'll definitely be an interesting game for sure.
Yeah.
But so we'll give our predictions as we do our game day videos, and I'm really excited to do all those picks.
Yeah. But let us know what you think about the roster breakdown.
Let us know
anything.
Let us know where you agree with us, because
God
knows that you're going to let us know where you disagree.
Which we love that.
No,
give us the feedback.
We genuinely love that.
Yes, for real. But until next time, keep talking ball.
Be sure to like,
we got
comment, and subscribe.
That's right.
That's key.
Do all that too.
Throw that in there.
Keep talking ball. Thank you.